back in 92 when I moved there. I was 18 and I went there on holiday to visit a friend. Took my records with me and stayed a couple of years and kind of broke a little bit of the DJ circuit with clubs and parties, you know, kind of the fashion show parties, because the clubs weren't really doing house music that much back then, and hanging out with a lot of people there who ended up becoming a little bit more famous than I'd imagined. One of them, when I moved over to Leeds in '94, or two of them, I then read in a magazine their names, and they had carried on making music, got signed to Virgin and called themselves Daft Punk. The French sound, when back in '92, I left Paris in '94, and as I said, I've been hanging around with these guys who were all, you know, DJs and producers, and they went on to, you know, actually really nail their own sound, and they were kind of the pioneers of the French sound. So it rubbed off in a massive way on me, the sound that they were playing in house music back then. So when I moved to Leeds, I kind of had the French sound as a DJ, and it was a lot of the filtered disco kind of, you know, sounds. And so when I started playing in Leeds, I sounded like a French DJ, and then after about 4 years of living there, you know, things had changed and the styles had changed, and it started getting a little bit kind of more techie sounding, and the disco loops were disappearing. And so I think when I left Leeds and moved back to London, I had more of a Leeds sound than a Paris sound. Then when I got to London, I moved to Brick Lane and lived 3 years in Shoreditch, and obviously that rubbed off in a big way, and music changed over this time, and everyone that was playing kind of funky and then electro and then kind of techno, and it's just the whole kind of movement, I think for everyone changed down to a more kind of minimalistic techno influence. And so even though I'm still making what is described as tech house, it's kind of taken a slightly more techno approach, and yeah, so it's I feel everyone's in a similar kind of boat when it comes to following kind of styles and fashions within music, and at the moment we're kind of, yeah, I think it's going deeper again now, but yeah, we'll just see what the next few years bring, whether it goes full circle and ends up being back on the big funky bass lines or not. Yeah, the remix album just came out this week, and yeah, we got some great mixes on there. A few have been released in the past as singles, and there are some new ones. Just got a new one from Eric Kupper, who just remixed the hang drum track for us. Also Timmy Stewart from Jet Project, he did a mix on it. DJ Pierre at Onions, James Harcourt have all got mixes on there, and we've got a kind of variety. There's one drum and bass mix of Swing Thing, there's a Balearic mix I did a hang drum track, and there's a dubstep remix of Boom. So it's kind of a big variety, you know, and a nice mix-up of sounds on there. So that's out now, and I've got some remixes that I've been doing of other people's work, which are all coming out, starting to come out. I've got something that I did for Danny Howells, which will be out soon in a couple of months. Just did something with Justice and DJ Pierre as a remix on his album, on his record label, Afro Acid Project it's called. And yeah, I've got a few other remixes of my own coming out, and some new productions which I've just signed 3 tracks to Very Very Wrong Indeed, Tim Sheridan's label. So that should hopefully come out around April or May. Also, yeah, there's some other projects which I can't really talk about just yet, because you know, they haven't been signed, sealed and delivered, and so I'm always wary of saying anything before before that actually gets signed. So yeah, there's some exciting stuff going to happen this summer, I think. DJing's definitely changed in terms of being kind of freer to do more with the music, you know, not just play one record and then maybe do a spin back, or you know, drop it again from the start. You can edit live while you're going on the fly, and just bring in acapellas and bring in any kind of beats you want from other songs. So yeah, it's all changed now, and it's changed for the better. I still like the CDJ, so I like what Pioneer have done, bringing the digital format, you know, to it, and so you don't actually have to play off a CD physically. That you can now just put your memory stick in, and it will read all of your files off there. So it kind of takes the impetus out of needing a laptop setup, and so because I got so stuck with vinyl. When I moved to the CDJ, I didn't move to laptop because I still wanted that physical kind of feeling of DJing, and I think this, yeah, the new CDJ 2000s, I think should, if all the big clubs recognise it and get onto it straight away, I think it should take off, and I think maybe there'll be less laptop kind of DJing and more back to, you know, feeling like you're really mixing in front of people rather than doing stuff on you know, a little keyboard. So. I started engineering last summer when I moved into the studio, because previously, living on Brick Lane, my living room was my studio, because you could make an awful racket in there and no one seemed to care, because it was just such a loud kind of environment to live in. So when I moved over to North London, things were quieter. I couldn't work from home, so I hired a studio now, and consequently I now have a kind of better environment to invite people in and professionally engineer for them. So yeah, I've got about 10 people I do engineering for, and some of them are being signed recently to some really cool labels. So yeah, it's fun. I only do it maybe once a week for one session, but it's good to see how other people work and what their influences are, and you know what their feelings are. And it's something new, but I really enjoy it. So we'll see. It's another, you know, like you say, another kind of string to your bow, and it takes the pressure off feeling like you have to DJ every weekend. So you know, if I don't play one weekend, it's not too bad, because I can still do engineering during the week. So it kind of everything helps really. One thing I always do with my drums, apart from the kick, everything that's percussion or drum wise, I actually send out through another bus, and then I put an extra, so each sound is compressed on its own, sometimes sidechain depending on what effect I want from it, and but they're all bussed out through another output, and I put extra compression on that, a little bit of reverb, so it just kind of, it tightens up, so all the drums sound like they come from the same setup, and that they're not kind of used from hits from one instrument, or you know, maybe a tiny bit of a loop from another. It just tightens them up and makes them sound like one set of drums. With the label, I'm not sure. I've looked at the idea of doing a sample pack and possibly releasing something like the hang drum track with a hangapella. We've got these new mixes, so I'm going to do a second release, part 2 for it. So yeah, maybe include the actual hang drum on its own as a hangapella, so people can use it, and then yeah, maybe break down some of the original components into loops and see if that works, see if people, you know, want the individual parts, so that they can essentially do their own mix of it, or just incorporate parts of it into their set if they're using stuff like Ableton Live. It's definitely an option. It's not something that as a label we're going to do for every release, but it's definitely something worth thinking about, the way things are changing now.